Hello everyone, this is Dave from daveswreathsandthings, and today I am going to be playing around with some red burlap ribbon, creating this beautiful wall hanging, a red burlap poinsettia. Why don't we just jump right into the video? Let's get started and I'll show you how I made it. I had this red burlap ribbon laying around. I'm going to take my rotary cutter, my cutting board, my ruler, and I'm just going to get started on creating little squares for this project. And my burlap ribbon is 5 inches in width. So what I want to do is I want to do a 5 by 5 square. And I'm going to cut about 34 to 36 of these for my poinsettia wall hanging that I have here. And I'm going to use my cutting mat. Really simple, you just lay that down, line it up with the edge, and then you find that 5-inch mark. I'm going to use that rotary cutter, press really hard, and get my first piece cut. Again, this is a 5 by 5 inch square red burlap piece. And of course, if you don't have a rotary cutter or you don't have a cutting mat, you can totally use a ruler. Just lay it flat with your burlap, grab a pair of scissors, find that 5-inch mark, and give it a good couple of cuts. Now, I wish I could find a hack for this, where it's easier to cut all these pieces all at once. So whether you use your scissors or your rotary cutter, I'm cutting about 34 to 36 5-inch square pieces. And once I have all my squares cut, I'm just going to get rid of some of that natural fibers that are in the air when you use a natural burlap. This is a dyed red natural burlap. My suggestion to you is to wear a mask. I wear a mask every time I work with burlap just because the fibers get in the air and it bothers my throat. So I would suggest when working with burlap, put that face mask off. We all have one during this COVID time. Just protect your lungs. So what I'm doing here is I am folding over corner to corner those 5-inch pieces. And I'm making a cannoli shape. We all know that Italian dessert that we love. So I'm just creating kind of a cannoli shape. And then I'm just going to glue on the corner there. Just really quickly with my fingers, I'm going to press it in. But my suggestion, instead of using your fingers, use tools that you have lying around the house. Here I have a highlighter that's coming on, I'm going to show you. And I have this wonderful little tool that I got in the makeup aisle at the dollar store. This works perfect for hot gluing stuff. And there you go. We have our first cannoli shape all done. And we only have about 34 more to go. So again, we're going to take one corner. Then we're going to take that opposite corner, fold it over, and you're going to create that cannoli shape. And then I'm going to add a little bit of glue on the corner there. And then I'm going to press it all together. And that will make our little cannoli shape that we're going to be using. And what I do is I finish making those little cannoli shapes over and over again. And once that's done, I'm going to create the base for this wreath. And what I'm using for the base is spare Foamcore that I had laying around. This is a spare wreath that I had as well. So I'm just going to use the inner circle, trace that and use it as a template. And then using my X-Acto knife, I'm just going to draw just a little bit or cut just a little bit outside of the circle that I just drew. And I believe I will show it later on. I believe it's about a 10-inch circle that I'm creating, that I'm using today for this wreath. And once we have it all cut out, I have my base that I can do everything and attach everything onto. So yes, it is 10 inches. So that's a 10-inch diameter circle that I'm using out of Foamcore. And now I'm just going to kind of decide how I'm going to attach it, where I'm going to attach it. And what I end up doing is maybe the lower third is attached, and then I have 2/3 of that little cannoli shape made out of the burlap hanging on and off the wreath. So I'm just going to add some hot glue down. I'm going to push it down into the hot glue with my highlighter I'm using here, but you can use anything you want. If you have a dowel laying around, you can use a dowel, a pen, a pencil, anything that you have will work perfect, so you're not burning your fingers all the time. Of course, here I am using my fingers and it's getting a little warm. How many times as us crafters burn our fingers? It's a daily basis. We never learn, but everything is always totally worth it. So again, I am just going around, putting a bead of hot glue down, then I'm attaching those little cannoli shapes. And of course, if you have little flyaways on your burlap, you can just cut them off. I always love the little flyaways every now and then. Personally, that's my personal preference. I love the natural look of the burlap. Of course, this is red burlap, so it's not so natural. But I do love the rustic, rugged look of, those little flyaways every now and then. So I'm continuing with my first round, laying the glue down, laying that cannoli shape down, and then just pressing it into the glue. And I'm kind of putting them close together, but not so close where you're losing the shape of that cannoli. I keep saying cannoli and it's making me hungry. But here we go. I am finishing up my first row, and I am so happy with how this is looking so far. And once I do that, I'm going to take some more of those cannoli shapes, and I'm going to start laying out where I want to do my second row all the way around. So again, I repeat that same process of laying the glue down, and then I'm just going to put that burlap right in the glue, and then I'm going to use my little handy dandy highlighter, which was my best friend today, and I'm going to push that burlap and hold it into that glue. And once that's all secure, I can move on to my next attachment. And again, I'm attaching it close enough, but not losing the shape of both of the rounds that we're using here. Now my second row is all done. It's time for my third and final row. So I'm just finding the placement there. And of course, now in the middle, there's a lot less space for our attaching the cannolis. The ribbon rounds, the cannolis, whatever you want to call them. So for this one, I found that I was basically overlapping the rolls of the red ribbon. So you'll see here I'm kind of overlapping them a little bit to get them into the space, because there's not a lot of space there. And really, that's totally fine. It worked out in the end. I was really happy with the results. So I'm just squeezing all of those ribbons in there, attaching them with the hot glue, and continuing to use my hot glue tool so I am not burning my fingers over and over again. And I do want to create a little space in the center there for the little centerpieces that I'm going to attach as well. So when attaching my final piece, I'm going to add some glue in there. I'm going to hold it in place, use my tool to squish it right in the glue, and then I'm going to flip the tool over and use that flat edge so I can get my fingers in there and really just hold it all down just for a few seconds. Hot glue does dry really quickly, just so to make sure that everything is attached and nothing is going to come apart. That's the last thing you want. But there you go. We are done with our poinsettia leaves, and for the center, I'm going to use 3 of these gold glittery baubles that I had laying around from another project, and I'm just going to hot glue those guys right in the center. And I love the red and the gold, especially the glitter against the red. It just looked so good. And of course, more glue. And And I'm just putting an abundance of glue down, holding them in place. And then I'm just going to take a little bit of hot glue and glue the two baubles together. Hold it in place for a little bit, let that glue dry. And then I'm going to grab my third and final glittery bauble, and I'm going to attach that onto the wreath as well. Holding it all together, pushing down, letting it dry, and voila, there is our beautiful poinsettia red burlap wall hanging. And before I go, just one more thing. I'm just going to show you how I created the hanging mechanism at the back, if you will. Nothing scientific here. I just cut a piece of pipe cleaner in half, made a U shape out of it. I'm going to throw some glue down. First, I'm going to see which, what I prefer to be the top or the bottom of my wreath. So I kind of flip it over, move it around a bit, and I'm like, yep, this is going to be the top right here. I'm happy with that. And then I'm going to grab some hot glue, create a couple of different piles there, put the pipe cleaner in those mounds of glue, and then I'm just going to throw a little bit more on top and let that all dry. And once it's dry, it is ready to hang on my door, on my wall. I just love how this turned out, and I hope you do too. And if you did, maybe hit that like button and leave me a comment down below. Thank you so much for joining me today. As usual, I had such a blast making this, and I hope this video puts a smile on your face. Thank you for watching. Take care. Bye for now.